Question number 5, Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. What was the rate of unemployment and the total number of people unemployed according to the Household Labour Force survey when he took office, and what is that rate and that number now?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the data from Statistics New Zealand yesterday shows the unemployment rate is currently 6.0%. This is 0.1% higher than the previous quarter and compares with 4.6% at the end of 2008. The number of employed people is 2,347,000 in the HLFS yesterday, compared to 2,195,000 at the end of 2008. The number of people unemployed is currently 151,000. At the end of 2008, it was 105,000. Of course, in the meantime, we've had a number of moderately significant world events: the global financial crisis, in New Zealand's context, the Canterbury earthquakes, and of course this year, a fragile world economy which has seen significant drops in commodity prices, including one of the ones most important to New Zealand.
Good answer. Good answer.
Speaker.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Is it correct that the lowest unemployment has got on his watch is 5.4% or 138,000 people out of work?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I can't verify the exact figures for the member, but I can say that across the world, it has been more difficult to generate employment post the GFC than prior to the GFC, and the member may be aware of that.
Supplementary question, Stuart Smith.
What recent reports has he seen showing how regional economies are supporting new jobs and more investment?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, businesses throughout New Zealand continue to invest and employ more people. Just this morning I saw a report showing a number of companies in the Clutha district advertising to Dunedin job seekers to fill up to something like 350 vacancies. And then, of course, there's companies like Proliant and Fielding, where we're seeing, and I quote, new investment creating new jobs, making the most of Manawatu's strength. That statement came just a couple of hours ago, which is promoting the government's work for the council and spearhead Manawatu in bringing Proliant to New Zealand, and that was from a Mr. Lise Galloway. Mr. Speaker, it's important we recognise that businesses around the country are continuing to invest and hire, and the government is helping them attract new investment to regions around the country.
Supplementary question, Brett Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, how is the government supporting jobs and diversification as part of building a resilient New Zealand economy?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the government is taking a range of measures to support a growing New Zealand economy. For example, there's a lot of activity recently in free trade agreements in the export market sector of our business growth agenda, with the government signing up to the TPPA. I'm not sure whether all other parties in the House yet have formed a position on that, but this government certainly has, because it will help job growth in the regions. We've reduced taxes on work, supporting higher employment. We've maintained a 90-day trial period, which encourages more jobs. We're investing in new public assets using the $4.7 billion raised by the mixed ownership model, which of course has been opposed by some other parties in the House. We've cut red tape to get more houses built. And there's any number of further initiatives, the innovation initiatives, the infrastructure initiatives, the water storage initiatives,
Order, bring the conclusion.
Many of which are opposed by other parties in this House.
Guess who?
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Why did he say that 151,000 New Zealanders being out of work was, quote, to be expected? And does that mean that unemployment at that level is collateral damage in his hands-off style of economic management?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I think the answer to the supplementary question previously shows that this government is anything but hands-off, notwithstanding Mr. Robertson's talking points. The reality is that New Zealand participates in a global economy, and our job as a government is to come up with a range of initiatives that assist further growth and investment. And we have any number of them, and if the member would like me to go through them all again, given that he hasn't heard them and wrote his talking points without them, then I'm happy to.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Can he confirm that the extent of the government's response to yesterday's announcement was, to quote him, for people to try harder to get work, as he said on the radio this morning? And doesn't he think that the person in this instance who should be trying harder is him?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I note that the Minister's response was to a direct and different question to the one that Mr Robertson characterises, but fair enough. But, Mr Speaker, this government is exactly focused on those things. And the interesting thing is that the business growth agenda is encouraging growth in our export markets. It's encouraging growth in innovation of companies, which is criticised by the opposition. It's encouraging growth in infrastructure, which is criticised by the opposition. It's encouraging greater availability of natural resources, which is criticised by the opposition. It's encouraging more investment.
Order. Supplementary question, the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
Is the increase from 8.7% to 12.9% Māori unemployment under his watch indicative of the government's plan for economic success? And if so, how many new jobs have been created for Māori?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I don't have those exact numbers available for the member today, but if she puts it down in a question to perhaps the Minister of Tertiary Education, Skills and Employment, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer that question on her behalf, Mr Speaker. But the important thing is the government has a range of initiatives working alongside the Māori Party with Māori and Pacifica Trades Training, for example, the Youth Guarantee Program, and the NEET figures in New Zealand, Mr Speaker, for 15 to 19-year-olds are the lowest they have ever been, and that's Māori, Pacifica and every other ethnicity in New Zealand.
Supplementary question, Sia Williams-Seo.
Supplementary. How will an unemployment rate for Pacifica people of 13.1% compared to 7.7% when he became minister, and the accelerating income inequalities and the lowest home ownership rate for Pacifica people that follow it create the brighter future the Prime Minister promised?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I agree with the member that Pacifica unemployment is still too high. And that's why the government is focused on a range of initiatives that attract investment, particularly in South Auckland, where a lot of our Pacifica population lives. And that includes areas such as transport infrastructure, where we've made very big investments. It includes the investment into AUT to ensure that they grow their campus, and the very big investment in the Manukau Institute of Technology, which is encouraging skills development for young people across South Auckland, including young Pacifica.
Supplementary question, Jenny Salisa.
How does the Minister think his measures to tackle youth unemployment are working, given it is now 16.65% for all young people under 24, up from 10.95% when National came into government in 2008?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
On behalf of the Minister of Finance, that member, I'm sorry, is completely incorrect. Because the unemployment figure for young people should not be quoted, because it is only unemployed as a percentage of those people who are at work. Every government and generally every responsible opposition quotes the NEET figure, because the NEET figure is not in education, employment or training. So, Mr Speaker, we will quote the NEET figure, which is the lowest it's been in 7 years at 11.0%, and the 15 to 19 rate is the lowest it has ever been, Mr Speaker, and should be celebrated, not talked down by the opposition.
Order. Question number 6, Nuk Karako.
Te maunga i te whare, tēnā koe. Huri no te whare para